Good day, class. My Teachback, I will call it Taboo Tiptoe, because I find it fascinating that morals seem to be subjective, and with enough sugared mental gymnastics, we can become desensitized to concepts that one would originally consider unthinkable, cringe, upsetting, disrespectful, or taboo. Through humility and juxtaposition, we contemplate scenarios where lines are drawn, erased, or blurred. In my discussion, I want to highlight several examples of questioning that may lead one to ponder how solid are our dogmas in honoring the dead. Do corpses have rights? Is disrespect forgivable if the intention was in good faith? When does honoring the dead cross the moral lines? The Sedlick ossuary was an eye-opening concept that seemed to heavily contrast my understanding of Christian values in death. Yet, through the reading, I gained a new sense of empathy for art and storytelling. The lore of the church is very fascinating in that approximately 40,000 people were originally buried on church grounds between the 14th to 17th century, probably from a plague. The Gothic church on site was built in 1400, and the bones buried on the church grounds were exhumed and installed on the interior of the 1870 by František Rendit. That is basically a real-life parody of Attack on Titan that had ancient giants hidden in the walls of its city. I was amazed that this practice could be included under the term Christianity. This bone church is a prime example of perspective and cultural bias. It depends where you're from, that depends how it looks. A quote from Bowman and Pazuzu in 2009 states, "By labeling certain tourist and tourist sites dark, an implicit claim is made that there is something disturbing, weird, morbid, or perverse about them. But what exactly that may be remains elusive and ill-defined because no one has assumed the burden of proving it." Think about it. Similar astonishment came from viewing the Toraja area of the Sulawesi in Indonesia and their practice of living with the dead for extended periods. This practice would be very taboo in the Western world, yet we have seen it addressed in a classic Hitchcock film like Psycho, when a mentally disabled person lives with their deceased mother and wears their clothes. In our reading, Death, Memory, and Material Culture, I want to highlight some notable passages. It is at the time of death that embodied persons disappear from view, that their relationships with others come under threat, that the unfolding of their affairs and their influence may cease, emotionally, socially, and politically. Therefore, much is at stake at the time of death. Memories and memory making in this context can be highly charged and heavily loaded. Could this be a two-way road? Personally, I love free skating. One day, while taking a pit stop on a road trip, I noticed a cemetery across the road. The road looked smooth and super tempting to skate. I just wanted to groove on it so badly. I had been wanting to expand my scenic skating rails with captivating environments. Why not a graveyard? My friend's like, "Pierre, that's disrespectful. Why would you want to do something like that? How would you feel if I were to skate on your grave?" And I started thinking, I thought, it seemed pretty cool. Not necessarily skating on the grave, that could be a little extra. I get that. But for sure in the mausoleums and down the paths, like if I were dead and bored, I would totally appreciate the lively energy of skaters smiling and doing kickflips, dropping high oars on my area. That'd be neat, And I think of this as akin to how baby laughter raises vibrations and smiles. Let's put that together. Baby laughter in a room, people start smiling. Maybe the dead smile. I would imagine a Civil War general would think it's pretty cool seeing me heel flip while spinning nunchucks. If anything, that should be like spirit points for donating groovy pizzazz to a solemn lot. Just a thought. A notable quote from Hallam and Hockey 2020 states, "Memory feeds into processes involving the construction of identity and notions of the self, just as emotional experiences impinge upon help to create memories. Thus, we are interested in objects associated with death, objects which acquire a density of meaning and significance, objects engaged in grief, fear, anxiety, love, disgust, anger, sorrow, fascination, and curiosity." To go a bit more extreme with it, in a reincarnating Black Mirror kind of world, complete fantasy, wouldn't it make sense for one to have sex on the tombstone of their great-grandparents in the hope for their soul to be reborn again in one's future children? I'm just saying. What if there was a world where people treated grave sites like sperm banks with astrology and geolocation to copulate on top of the most notable figures in history? I mean, what if you could just like make your own Einstein baby, Jim Morrison baby, Michael Jackson baby, missionary in the cemetery? You never know. You never know till you try. Anyway, I will leave you with one quote from historian and sexologist Thomas LaCour. We endlessly invest the dead body with meaning because through it, the human past somehow speaks to us.